Hello and welcome again to Violeta English by Reportage. Today I would like to say that people who are trying to cheat other people are more and more dangerous nowadays. Not that they have not been in the past, but it's worse and worse. And I will start from a personal example. The other days I got a phone call. It was like a man's voice on the phone, and he said that he was from a town in my country, the country where I live, which is Romania. And he said, I'm from Iași. This is the name of the town. It's a town situated in the northern part of the country. Anyway, and he even had an accent specific to that area. And he told me your loan at a particular bank was approved. Because I had seen some news and some information on the internet previously about this method that they use, I immediately knew where he was coming from, what it was all about. And I said, oh yeah, I'm really glad to hear that. So it was approved. Great. And then I said, but unfortunately, then I kept talking because I wanted to show him that I knew that he was lying, and I wanted to confuse him a bit. And I said, but now I'm traveling now, so and I'm in another country, and here there are other banks, so I don't know the name of the bank that you mentioned. That's not the correct name. So can you tell me again the name of the bank? And he hung up because he was aware at that point that I knew exactly that he was trying to attract me into this trap. It's actually a formula that they have. They have a scenario, and they call you and they tell you that your loan was approved, but that there is a problem. And then in this scenario, there is someone else who will call you, maybe a policeman or someone from the bank, and they do this until they make you so confused that you might take some actions. I don't know exactly. You might go to the bank and get a loan and then send them the money. Anyway, I had seen this scenario on the news or on the internet, and I followed the whole story and I read a few articles, so I knew exactly how they operate and which are the scenarios in this situation. I actually, this story is the starting point, because what I want to say is that, for instance, I don't have a TV set in my house. I know it's kind of paradoxal in a way, because I worked in television for 16 years. It's true that I was not quite a news journalist. I didn't really like that part. What I was doing there was like I was creating artistic programs or interviews with artists. So that was my specialty in the field. Therefore, it was like natural for me at a certain point, when I felt that I was wasting a lot of time in front of the TV, to give up the any TV set existent in my house. So I haven't had a TV set in my house for more than 10 years, maybe much more than 10 years actually. I don't even remember. It's like, let's see, yeah, it must be anyway more than 10 years. But it doesn't mean that I don't have where to find out information from. It would be like ridiculous to say so, because there is so much information on the internet. And this is how I take how I find out a lot of information about what's happening around. And if I want to document on a particular subject, then I can also find a lot of information on the internet. And I want to say this because I keep I keep wondering how people don't get informed more about the methods and the patterns that the criminal organizations are using to cheat them. And I'm particularly thinking about young people and teenagers, for example, young people generally who also spend a lot of time in front of devices, and um, they could find out information about how to stay away and how to stay as far as possible from people who are part of these organizations, and they could harm them, they could attract them into their traps. And this is the point where I get to a subject which is absolutely annoying and absolutely a terrible subject, but I would like to talk about this, even though it's really painful. It's the situation of the three girls in Argentina who were starting their adult life. They were stepping into their adult life. They were in their 20s. Two of them were in their 20s, and the third one was 15. And those who heard this news, they know what I'm talking about. And it's so sad. It's so sad because they fell into the trap of a criminal organization. And I hope that this case will make other young people aware of what's happening around, and they will be much, much more cautious. Not that they were not cautious. I don't know the details of the case. So far, I've seen just general information about the case, so I don't know the details. But anyway, yeah. And what happened actually, just to tell the story for those who don't know, is that there were two sisters in Argentina in their 20s, and they had a friend who was 15, and they were invited last week, or anyway, a few days ago, like around 1 week ago. This is when this tragedy happened. They were invited in the evening at an event to a house. I didn't find in that piece of news the details, where from they knew this person who invited them and so on. But anyway, they were told that they were invited to an event, and someone with a car, with a van or a white car, came and took them to a house. And it's absolutely like terrible. They were actually brought there to be killed, to be tortured, raped, and killed. And the torture and the terrible things that they went through was live broadcast on Instagram in a private group and watched by around 45 people. And actually it was discovered that the people who brought them there and tortured them were part of a criminal organization which was trafficking drugs. And later their bodies were, in the next days after their disappearance on Friday night, they I think it was around the 20th of September. The bodies were found buried in the yard of that house, and the truck that brought them there was found in a field. It had been set on fire. It's absolutely. There are no words. There are no words to describe how sick the minds of people who can do this are. And I believe that all the people who are in a way taking all sorts of substances from these criminal organizations are giving them more and more power. And maybe they are not aware that these organizations can do such things, but look that they can. And I'm really sorry for these girls. I really thought about them, and it's so painful, and I pray for them, and I'm really sure that they will find peace in the hands of God. And this story brought into my mind some other two cases that I saw on YouTube, on some YouTube channels. And this brings into attention some people who are homeless. I have a deep compassion for homeless people. I'm really sorry for them, indeed. But these two homeless people that I would like to talk about were also drug addicts. And the reason for which I bring this into discussion, these two homeless people, is to show what these people who consume, who take drugs, how their minds get so sick, and what they can do. It's stunning in the worst way possible. So these cases are from two different continents. One is from America, from the United States. There was a young girl in her 20s. She was pregnant. She had a boyfriend who wasn't apparently the father of the child. And the mother of this pregnant girl kept advising her to separate from this boy because he was taking drugs and he was sleeping in the street. And even though he was a family, he was kind of having deeper and deeper psychical problems, and he was more and more becoming a homeless person, even though he had a shelter and a family, and he had this girlfriend. At a certain point, he took everything he had in that house and left the house and wanted to just leave. But unfortunately, she had this thought that he can't live like that. And the mother of this pregnant girl advised her, leave him alone. Because anyway, he's violent and aggressive with you. Why would you keep insisting? But she insisted. She didn't listen to the good advice of her mother, and she kept calling his friends, his relatives, until the point where she found him, unfortunately. And she brought him home at night, and that night he killed her. He killed her, and he did terrible things. He threw her body to trash, to a construction site, and it was terrible indeed. And the other case happened in and he cut her head. Yeah, that's what makes the thing more terrible. And a similar case like this one is a case in Australia. There was a couple there, a pregnant young woman and her husband, and they were found killed in their apartment by a neighbor. The pregnant woman had been killed and her husband had also been killed, but also the murderer had cut his head. And it was discovered, unfortunately, that the author was a drug addict, a homeless person. Relatives of this young family didn't know exactly how they knew this homeless person. Apparently they knew him, they allowed him into their house, and then tragedy happened. So it shows that these substances can lead to such huge mental problems and very dangerous behaviors. And I return to the initial point that we have access to a lot of information today, and even these young people in their 20s or even younger, maybe they don't realize how these criminal organizations operate, but they have a lot of information, and they certainly read about all sorts of incidents that happen in the entire world, where people fall victims to such dangerous people, and they can learn to be more cautious. These organizations have some patterns, and they have some methods that are already documented in media, on social media, in the news, or on different information channels on the internet. So just paying attention to the details and paying attention to the methods, then you know how to stay away from these dangers. I wanted to say this because I was so impressed by the case of these 3 girls, and so sorry for what happened to them. Yeah, I think we should use the power of social media and of the huge amount of information that we have access to nowadays, rather than using this as a method of wasting our time and scrolling on the phone and watching all sorts of, I don't know, useless sometimes things. We could also use this information that we have got to make the world a better place, to stay away from danger, and even to informing and helping other people. And that's the point that I wanted to make now. And with this, I see you in the next video. Goodbye.